So in that process of meditating, he's going to bring your fears to you. He's going to put them right in your face. And he's going to challenge you to face them. And in the process of facing them, you'll have to breathe through that fear, and you'll have to not run away from it. You'll have to overcome it right there in that space with him. And he's not going to leave you alone to do it. But you got to be willing to face those fears so that you can overcome. But it's not he's just putting those fears in front of you just to make you fearful. It's so you can become almost superhuman. Hi, you guys. Debbie Lively here with a live review. Thank you guys so much for coming back to view another one of my videos. I'm gonna invite the ancestors right in and we'll start talking, all right? So just be with me for a moment. Okay, all right, you guys. You guys, this is my follow-up from the last video that I did on melanin and darkness, right? I said that I was gonna kind of give you guys some tips, or give us some tips about how to, how to elevate ourselves spiritually, right? So this is what we're gonna talk about. So I have 10 points. I may not get through all 10 points because I'm looking at my clock, and I try to keep my videos under 10 minutes, right? So I'm gonna try to get through all 10, but if I don't, then I'll do a follow-up with that. But you guys, so let's just talk about that not real quickly, but let's just talk about like how to elevate ourselves spiritually. You know, guys, the first thing, and I thought about this and I meditated and I prayed about it, because I just gotta be real. I'm just gonna be real. I'm just gonna get right at it. The first point is preachers. For so long in the US, and I know it's happening a lot in Africa, a lot of people rely on their preachers, right? And I'm always so careful about telling people whether they should or should not leave the church. And I'm not even saying that right now. But what I'm telling you is to have a real relationship, a direct connection to the divine, it ain't gonna come through your preacher. That's what I'm gonna tell you. God does not want a relationship with you by way of your preacher. Now, I'm not saying you can't get information from your preacher. That is not what I'm saying at all. But I'm saying what I believe God's ultimate purpose is to have an individual relationship with each of us, with all of his people. All of us are a slice of the divine, right? And he wants a relationship with each and every one of us. And that can't come by way of your preacher. And like I said, it doesn't mean that you can't get good information from your preacher, but you can't have a deep relationship with the divine by way of your preacher. You just can't. Okay, that's my first point. All right. So my second point is you got to seek the divine directly. And one of the ways the first things that I'm going to say is be able to do that, you got to turn off your electronics. And you're like, whoa, what are you talking about? I got to turn off my electronics. I got to turn off my cell phone. I got to turn off my television and my social media. What are you talking about? And I'm saying, yes, that's what you got to do. Because you guys got to understand that all of that stuff, all of these things that we have, all these devices and electronics, is not just a way to get information, but it's a distraction. All of that stuff is intentional in terms of pulling us away from communing with the divine, right? So you gotta cut stuff off. I remember when I first started going really deep in my relationship with the divine, and he told me that I needed to stop watching the news. I'm like, what? I gotta know what's going on in the world, right? But you got to cut off and stop, because those things, you could hear one news story and it will just capture your brain, capture your mind, and take you off for days at a time, right? I know, guys, just think about that. I know it's happened. I've watched news stories and I'm thinking about it for days at a time, right? If you got that going on, you can't really focus and hear what the divine is telling you. So you got to cut off your devices. At least, decide that you're going to do that every day. You're going to cut off your television, you're going to cut off your radio, you're going to cut off whatever it is that's a distraction, and focus yourselves, all right? So getting away from your devices. And then once you're able to do that, the biggest thing that you're going to need to do to be able to connect to the divine is you're going to have to learn how to meditate. And like, I know a lot of us think, oh, you know, that's too difficult. I can't shut my brain off. I can't shut my mind off. That's for the spiritual gurus. That's for the most spiritual people, is they do the meditation. And I'm saying, if you want a relationship with the divine, you got to learn how to meditate. And I'm going to tell you why. You have to learn how to meditate for several reasons. Because you got to become accustomed. You got to learn to listen to that voice that's speaking to you. Because you're going to have many voices speaking to you. You're going to have your ego speaking to you. You're going to have your parents' voices speaking to you. You're going to have your children's voices speaking to you. You know what I mean? But you've got to begin to quiet yourself and learn to listen and understand and differentiate between what voice is listening to you. And if you meditate and you commit yourself to regular meditation, daily meditation, you'll begin to hear that voice. This is the most important thing. It's imperative that you learn how to meditate, because not just in that, that's when you'll get the direction for your life. And this is why I say a preacher can't tell you what's best for you. He can give you advice, from his perspective, but what's best for you is going to come through the divine, and you got to begin to listen to that voice and be able to hear that voice and differentiate and know what that voice is when it's speaking to you, right? And you will get that in meditation. That voice will become it'll go from small and it'll become so much louder, but you got to commit yourself. And as I said in one of my other videos, it's not going to happen overnight. It may take weeks, it may take months, it may even take years. It took me a while. It took me a while to understand that God was calling me into communion with him. But he will call you into communion. But your step is you need to be able to commit yourself to sitting down quietly, cutting off things, and begin to listen, right? To begin to listen. Okay? I can see I'm not going to get through all my points here. So I'm only on 3 points. So I'll just do 5. All right? So my next point is, when you start to meditate, is that you breathe. I know you guys have heard that. You have to learn, and you've heard me say that I breathe through things. You got to learn, when you start to meditate, you got to learn how to breathe through things. Because I'm going to tell you what's going to happen once you start meditating. God is going to bring up some things. And this is why I say going higher is not for the faint of heart. Because when you go higher, he's going to bring some things to you. He's going to bring some fears to you. He's going to bring some challenges to you. He's going to bring some of your past to you. And you're going to be like, I'm getting the hell up out of here. I can't hang with this. This is too deep. You're going to want to run. I'm telling you, you're going to want to run. And that's why I say this is not for the faint of heart. Because he's going to make you face some things inside of yourself. And not just to make you face them to make it difficult for you, but to make you almost superhuman. And I hate to use that word, but I can't think of any other way to explain it. Almost to make you superhuman. Because what's going to happen, you guys, and I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit, once you start to listen to God, he's going to bring your fears to you. But he's bringing your fears to you, so once you do get elevated, you do get to that level where, what I talked about, your kundalini rises, the pineal gland, and you open up your brain to hear and understand cosmic information. God is going to have a message for you. And he's going to tell you to do certain things or be a certain person. And if you're afraid, if you got all these fears from maybe the way you grew up, or what your husband did to you, or what your children did to you, or what your parents, you're not going to be in a position to do those things because you're going to be too afraid. So in that process of meditating, he's going to bring your fears to you. He's going to put them right in your face. And he's going to challenge you to face them. And in the process of facing them, you'll have to breathe through that fear, and you'll have to not run away from it. You'll have to overcome it right there in that space with him. And he's not going to leave you alone to do it. But you got to be willing to face those fears so that you can overcome. But it's not he's just putting those fears in front of you just to make you fearful. It's so you can become almost superhuman. And then when you do elevate, he's going to say, okay, John, do this. Betty, do this. Nikki, do this. And because you've overcome your fears, you're in a position to do what he's calling you to do. You're in a position to be the kind of person he needs you to be, to take the kind of action he needs you to take. So, and I've got to say that this is probably, in terms of seeking that direct, intimate relationship with the divine, this is probably the hardest, is to be able to face your fears, right? But your fears are going to come up in a couple of points. Like, we have these chakras. You guys know about chakras. I'm going to put a picture up here. So you've got these 7, some people refer to them as gates. You got these chakras, right? Starting with, you know, the chakra, your red chakra, you know, orange, yellow, blue, green, blue, indica, and then purple is the crown chakra. So you got these chakras here, right? So often you will find that when you're struggling in a certain area, you know, like maybe you may have heart palpitations or you may have stomach problems. That's because you have some level of blockage there. So that's a good way of knowing, okay, where's my blockages? Where are my challenges I'm going to find? And he's going to bring those challenges in those areas. And what you have to do is when they come, you just have to breathe through them and face them. All right? I feel like I'm going through this so fast, but I'm not going to continue because this video is getting long. I'm just going to do a part 2. I was hoping I could get through all 10 points, but it's just too much to explain. So I will do the next part in a part 2. All right? So, yeah, you guys, I'm just going to say Ashe and end this video, and I'll do it in a part 2, okay? Ashe. And I'll talk to you all soon, all right?